autonomy.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, Miss Samia, Bismillah. Yes, here it is. And tell me when you can hear. So
What
you
is
can
it all
sound,
about
okay?
and how can you use it in the classroom? Let's go. I'm Deirdre Nicholas from Palm Tree Teaching TV, teacher, speaker and your personal English language coach. Now, you've probably heard of learner autonomy. Learner autonomy was first discussed in English teaching over 30 years ago and has been talked a lot about by academics. So I'm going to explain this powerful tool that will boost your teaching and make your students better learners. And watch to the end to get practical help with how you can use it in the classroom. So, what is learner autonomy? It's about learners taking responsibility for their own learning, both what they learn and how they learn it. Now, as a teacher, don't worry
So
that
what
you
do you mean by learner autonomy? Who takes the responsibility?
Learner.
Yeah. So when we say learner autonomy, we mean the learner takes the responsibility of his learning. He learns depending on himself more than depending on the teacher. Okay. What about the teacher? Let's see together.
may be losing control of your students. You're not, because by guiding them to be better, more independent learners, you're helping them. And without you, they would not be able to do any of this. You're very much in charge of the whole process. You, as the teacher, will be encouraging your students to find ways of learning that suits them, what works for them and means something for them. So therefore you'll improve the quality and the results of their language learning. You'll help learners to understand their learning and become aware of their own strengths and areas that they need to work on. You will be teaching students to evaluate themselves and what to do to improve. And you will guide students to work outside the classroom too, to build on their English. So you teachers are incredibly important for learner autonomy. It just can't be done without you. It is you, the teachers, who will help.
One of the best lessons I've learned
No,
is
I'm
life.
sorry for this. So, what is the role of the teacher in this? What
English
is the role of
teachers.
the teacher in learners' autonomy?
Keep control, encouraging the students, and teach
Yes, he
them to
keeps
evaluate
control.
themselves.
Yeah,
Monitoring.
he keep. Yes, he's mentoring. Very good, Mr. Muhammad. He's a monitor here. He's encouraging, supporting, and taking control, of course, for the learners. So let's see together how much percent is the learner working here, and how much percent is it for the learners. Okay, let's see together.
More independent learners, you're helping them. And without you, they would not be able to do any of this. You're very much in charge of the whole process. You, as the teacher, will be encouraging your students to find ways of learning that suits them, what works for them and means something for them. So therefore you'll improve the quality and the results of their language learning. You'll help learners to understand their learning and become aware of their own strengths and areas that they need to work on. You will be teaching students to evaluate themselves and what to do to improve. And you will guide students to work outside the classroom too, to build on their English. So you teachers are incredibly important for learner autonomy. It just can't be done without you. It is you, the teachers, who will help and guide your students in doing this. Show them the way. You're the leader, the director, and the empowerer. So why is learner autonomy important? Well, by showing your students how to be autonomous learners, you will set them up successfully for life. By creating autonomous learners, you'll help them think critically about their learning and understand what they need to do to improve. Now, research has shown that good learners are autonomous and successful people are autonomous as well. And this skill starts at the age of 11. So doing this at school, helping them at that age, is the perfect time. And you can build all this into your lessons. Even if you have to follow a course book, which I know many of you have to do, you can still help your students to be autonomous learners. So how can you do this in the classroom? Well, there are lots of ways that you can engage your students in their learning with resources, technology, different classroom relationships, and so on. But the most important thing to do is to raise your students' awareness of their
So
learning.
what is the first important issue if you want to increase your learners' autonomy? It is written on the screen, wallahi. How can you increase your learners' autonomy? The first important thing is raise your
Awareness of
students'
their
awareness of their learning. So it means all the time you should train your students or your learners to depend more on themselves rather than depending on the teacher, to encourage them by supporting them, by trying to evaluate their work, try to improve their points of weaknesses, and of course, encourage them or reward them for their points of strength. So all the time the teacher is doing a very hard task. It's not easy at all. It seems easy because learners are working, but the big challenge is how the teacher can succeed in training the learners to be self-dependent or work more autonomous than depending on the teacher. Okay, so the first important point is to raise your students' awareness of their learning. Okay, let's see what else.
How do you do this? Well, every lesson or every week, whatever is right for you and your class, get your students to write down the answers to these questions. What have you learnt? What have you found easiest? What have you found most difficult? What do you think you could do to improve?
And we do something like this in our sessions, my dear friends. Do you know what is it? In a very 2 words,